Alrighty, just going to go through, show you how to take off and replace the old cassette on the back, because sometimes you might need to. If you're going to replace it, then replace the chain as well. Generally, I end up switching wheels for the races, so I end up switching my cassette over, so get rid of that. All I'm doing today is taking it off. You can see that wobble a little bit there because I've forgotten to put a little spacer ring on, which is under here, this one here, so that just sits in behind. So it's a good chance for me to show you what you need to do to take the whole thing off. So a couple of things you're going to need. First of all, you need this fella here. It's called a chain whip, and then you need a Shimano locking tool, cassette locking tool, and so you're just going to have to undo from there. So if I pull that up, you can see that is basically going to turn the whole thing around. So you use the chain whip to stop it from turning. From there, that fella on there, and pull in the opposite direction. Okay, so that unlocks this one here. You can take that off. Now it's just finger loosening, and then she comes off pretty easy, that one there. So you need to get the specific tool, but they're not too expensive. Each one comes off individually. The first three normally have their own built-in spacers. You can see the spacer between each one, hopefully on there. If not, there. Okay, and then each one from there has a little plastic spacer in between. Okay, so you've got to keep them in the order that they come off generally, and remember that try to keep them in the same order, outside, inside. So all I do is just place them face down on each other on the ground, so that you don't lose them. Now sometimes what can happen is that because you've got all this torque pulling them that way, they actually burr into the aluminium. This is an aluminium body, and those are pretty, I don't know, steel teeth. So they're going to dig in quite severely. See, that one there's locked in, so sometimes you need to get your chain whip out again on there, and then it's just a matter of giving a little click to get it off. So there, and there's a spacer stuck behind it. Generally, if there's a bit too much grease, the spacer will stick to it. I'll just go through, whip through the rest of those one by one. You have to. Okay. Chain whip on again, and she pops loose. Okay, and the rest of them are loose as well. So we can just pull the whole lot off together, all out. Just be careful not to let any of the extra spacers fall off. My one here has got all three. Those three are all just a single unit, so you don't have to worry about spacers from there, but not all of them are like that. So they are there upside down. Now what I'm going to do here is just show you close up. You can get on here the burring that I was mentioning before. So each tooth, you can see all the ridges that have, see that stuff there. So what I tend to do is just give it a little bit of a file straight across. You can see I've kind of worn straight through there. The way you can tell if you need to do it is just because you go to put this fella on and it doesn't slip over. So I'm just going to give that a quick file now while we're here. Just it's an alloy, so it shouldn't rust up anyway, so don't worry about exposing it. And then you'll figure out pretty soon which ones need to be filed down and which ones don't. This is one of the more annoying things about changing them over, because it's such a soft metal compared to the other ones. Let's see if I can just wiggle that on. going to go. But keep working it. They don't really make these with any better materials. I'm not sure why they wouldn't use a matching piece of steel, something that's not going to burr up quite so easily, but it's not up to me to decide, is it? So this is the boring bit. Should be the last of it. So you don't want to go too hardcore into it. You can still force it over. Just a couple that are still holding it up. Fast forward this bit. There you go, so that just sits on there. Let's get these back on. Now it's got a lock and key mechanism. If you have a look through there, you can see down the bottom here, that one there is wider than the rest of them, and as such that bit up there is wider, so they just match up. You can't put it on wrong, because it only fits one way. So we'll just whip those on, back on the opposite way from where they came. Spacers just slip on any which way, they're not lock and key. It's like a pretty easy jigsaw puzzle. So again, this is why you keep them in order, so you don't have to sit here going, oh, which way does it go, that way or that way. So often what you'll find is that they'll have a little marking. They'll tell you how many teeth. So that one there says 13T. This one here will say 12T. And generally that is on the outside. So you'll see it from this end. So if you ever do drop them and stuff them up, you can still figure it out. So they only just fit on. Get that fella on there. Generally, if I do take them off, I generally give them a little clean, a bit of degreaser, just to get right in there. Finger tight, grab that fella, and tighten her up properly. Torque wrench, ideal. Don't want to go too tight, but give it a few good clicks, and there you go. Easy.